What if I told you a commercial airliner flew for over 2 hours with no one at the controls? And when a fighter jet finally catches up to it, they saw something terrifying through the cockpit window. This is the story of Helios Flight 522.
Welcome to History Corner.
It was a quiet Sunday morning in Greece just before 11 a.m. Then suddenly the Greek Air Force scrambles two F-16 fighter jets. A Boeing 737 flying into Athens from Cyprus has been completely unresponsive. No radio contact, just circling. The F-16 pilots have no idea what they'll find. Hijackers or just mechanical failure. But what they see as they approach the plane is far more disturbing. As the fighter jets pull alongside the plane, they see that the captain's seat is empty, and the co-pilot is slumped over, completely still. Inside the cabin, oxygen masks hang from the ceiling, but no passengers seem to be moving. Then suddenly, a man appears. A man wearing an oxygen mask enters the cockpit and sits down. He tries to take control. His name is Andreas Prodromo, a 25-year-old flight attendant. He's the only one left conscious, and he's trying to save the plane. While Andreas held a UK commercial pilot license, he was not qualified to fly the Boeing 737. About 9 a.m., Helios Airways Flight 522 departs from Larnaca, Cyprus, headed for Athens, then on to Prague. The aircraft, a Boeing 737, is carrying 115 passengers and 6 crew. But something is wrong almost immediately. The pressurization system, which regulates the cabin's oxygen levels, has been set to manual instead of auto, a mistake made by ground crew after running tests, and missed by the pilots during their checklist. As the plane climbs, the air in the cabin gets thinner. Warning lights come on, alarms sound, but the captain doesn't realize it's for cabin pressure. He thinks it's something else. The crew becomes confused, disoriented, their judgment clouded by hypoxia. Oxygen deprivation. At high altitudes, hypoxia can cause confusion, dizziness, blurred vision, poor judgment, and eventually unconsciousness. Victims don't often realize something is wrong. They feel euphoric, lightheaded, until it's too late. The crew becomes disoriented, the response is sluggish. They stop communicating clearly, and then they pass out. And one by one, the passengers do too. The autopilot holds the plane at 34,000 feet. It continues flying its programmed route, circling a holding pattern near Athens, waiting for a landing clearance it will never receive. For over 2 hours, the plane circles. On the ground, confusion grows. Air traffic controllers try repeatedly to contact the flight. No response. That's when the military gets involved. By the time the fighter pilots spot Andreas trying to control the plane, it's almost out of fuel. At 12:04 p.m., Helios Flight 522 runs out of fuel. Both engines fail. The plane crashes in the hills near Grammatico, just north of Athens. Everyone on board perishes. It's the worst aviation disaster in Greek history. The investigation is damning. The pressurization system has been left on manual, a simple switch, but the pilots missed it during their pre-flight checks. When the cabin alarms sound, they were misidentified. The crew thought they were dealing with a minor technical issue, not a loss of oxygen. They thought it was a takeoff configuration warning. Captain Merton contacted the Helios Operations Center to report that the takeoff configuration warning was on, as well as that the cooling equipment was normal and alternate offline, and the cooling ventilation fan lights were off. He was asked to confirm that the cabin pressurization system was set to auto rather than manual, but he disregarded the question and continued to discuss the issues, no doubt already beginning to experience hypoxia. Andreas had managed to stay conscious thanks to a portable oxygen supply. He waved at the fighter jets briefly before the left engine faltered and the plane began to drop. Knowing there was no way he could make it out alive, the 25-year-old made the selfless decision to bank the plane away from Athens and toward a rural area. Thanks to this, no ground casualties occurred. As a result, 121 people lost their lives, 93 adults and 22 children, and someone had to answer for it. Legal proceedings were launched against company officials. In 2008, 6 former employees were charged with manslaughter in Athens and in Cyprus. Helios Airways and 4 executives faced 119 counts of manslaughter and negligence. Cyprus court acquitted them in 2011 due to lack of proven causality. The acquittal was later overturned, but the retrial was dropped under the double jeopardy laws. Meanwhile, a Greek court prosecuted 4 of the same individuals and a chief engineer in a separate case. In 2012, they were found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years. One man, Alan Irwin, successfully appealed in 2013. The others lost their appeals, but were allowed to buy out their sentences for about 79,000 euros, a decision that sparked public outrage. Meanwhile, Helios Airways was finished. The airline, already under intense scrutiny, lost the public's trust overnight. Helios rebranded as AJet in a desperate attempt to shed its tarnished image, but it didn't work. Less than a year later, Cyprus authorities detained the company's aircraft and froze the company's bank accounts. The airline was shut down on October 31, 2006. Helios Flight 522 was brought down by a simple mistake and a series of missed warnings. The loss of 121 lives led to changes in training, procedures, and oversight. It remains one of the most unusual and tragic events in modern aviation history. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time.